Ecowas leaders will be holding an extraordinary meeting in Accra on Tuesday to discuss ways of returning Mali to a civilian rule. The meeting will be hosted by the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, who is the chairperson of the Economic Committee of West African States. Here's more of that in this report.
The meeting will bring together 9 West African countries, including stakeholders from Mali's military junta, civil society organizations, and relevant representatives who spearheaded the protests prior to the August 18 overthrow of President Boubacar Keïta. After 3 days of consultations with civilian representatives on Sunday, Mali's military junta agreed an 18-month transition which can be headed by a civilian or military officer. The M5 movement, which spearheaded the protests against Boubacar Keïta, has, however, rejected the transition plan agreed upon by the coup plotters and various political forces. The movement, which wants a civilian to head the transition, said it fears there is a possibility the military will not hand over power. For Africa TV, Sohna Tunkara.
Earlier, I spoke to Anna Densky, a journalist and political commentator from Brussels who has been closely monitoring developments in Mali.
Well, I think that we have to see the situation in Mali in general, because there are plenty of things at stake, and also the well-being of people, because the country is blocked at the moment. I think that the idea to proceed now with the charter, because ECOWAS negotiated a very comprehensive charter on how implement the transition from the current crisis to new elections, and it will take 1.5 years. And I think that the idea is to concentrate on this bridge from the past to the future much more than search for faults, because of course there are many faults, because revolution which took place in Mali is not a constitutional event by definition. Revolutions are never constitutional. So there is a certain contradiction with current laws, even with customs, and the situation in general is out of ordinary, and we have to deal with that, because the politics exists for people, and people shouldn't serve to politics. In that way, I think the same is about the laws. So the political movements now should think about their programs and how to improve Malian law, how to introduce our transparency, and how to avoid falling back into the past. Because what information we have here is 40% of Malian state budget disappeared in corrupt pockets. It was absolutely unacceptable. And at the moment, unfortunately, there are no political forces who can really propose a new program, because there is a huge difference between a movement, political movement.
Exactly. I was going to ask that, because the M5 movement that led the protests against Boubacar Keïta rejected the transitional plan agreed by the coup plotters and various political forces, because they believed there is a possibility that the military will continue to head the transition. Now, how much such disagreements affect a smooth transition process?
Well, I think that we shouldn't be too much on the fact that people who lead now the country are military, because Charles de Gaulle, our French great president, was military. Kemal Atatürk was military, who reformed Turkey. So I don't think that we should really try to degrade the patriots if they are from military part of the society. But what is crucial now is to understand that there is no political force, because movement is not a political force. They have no program. They were fantastic and good and very active in rejecting the corrupt regime of President Keïta. But at the moment, there should be very hard work, and maybe not so spectacular, about creating a program, how to what to offer to Malians to develop the country.
All right.
And at the moment, there is nothing of the kind, because there is a protest movement. There are political parties of the past, and what I think Malian people are expecting, and also the world community is expecting, that Mali will reform itself also politically, and there should be a very serious political process in forming new parties, also in our investigating. Mm-hmm. What happened in our Keïta party, because our corruption can be forgiven.
Other international bodies like the UN and AU stands firmly with Ecowas in fostering the transitional process to a civilian ruler. Now, do you think the military will give in their plan to head the transitional process in Mali?
Well, I think that there should be political realism, because unfortunately there is no other force who is an honest broker, because it's not the purpose to give advantage to any political force and appoint a person with political preferences, because the risk is very high that, for example, people from President Keita, people from the past, will try to grab power, they will try to ascend power, because President Keita is a very experienced politician. Now he retreated, or he said that he's at medical leave, or he's convalescing, but we don't know what is on his mind, and we can't exclude that he would like to come back. So I think that military is also a guarantee. 1.5 years of military rule is also a guarantee that it will not happen, and that the other political forces will have sufficient time to prepare their programs and to prepare for fair elections.
You mentioned about the UN and of course the AU, but how much interest does the EU or the European Union is following in recent developments in Mali?
Well, of course, the European Union is very much interested in Mali and what happens there, because, as you know, unfortunately, Africa was destabilized, and there is jihad is spreading, and now even there are groups, there are militants who are affiliated to Al Qaeda. So our Islamic State was defeated, but the ideas of our caliphate is still alive. And Europe, of course, is investing in Mali. It will invest in Mali in future, and that's why they support French operation, counter-terrorist operation Barkhane. Because without security, without our stability, there will be no development of Mali.
Just finally now, Malians have agreed to an 18-month transitional president, and Ecowas leaders will be meeting tomorrow in Accra, Ghana. Now, what do you think one could possibly expect from the meeting regarding the transition in Mali?
I think that the major factor now is to move on, because the charter is there. There is a solid agreement. International community is responsible. It takes responsibility for the situation as well. So there are multiple players, and they all are sharing responsibility for the situation. And if it's promised, or internationally promised, that there will be elections within this 1.5 year, I think that there is nothing to fear that there will be a military appointed as a let's say transition period. But also it's our military can also denounce his military status if it's so crucial, and he can step out like President Buhari did, the president of Nigeria. So it's not first time in Africa that military, but also in the world, that military become civilians and they take the lead. But I think we have to see the personality, and I'm very much impressed by Assimi Goïta, his calm, his wisdom. He's a young man, but he showed a lot of openness to compromise. He showed himself as a diplomat, and he showed himself as a real patriot. And I believe that in this generation of young patriots of Mali, the country has a great future.
Anna Van Densky, a journalist and political commentator. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. All right, as you heard, of course, that was Anna Van Densky, a journalist and political commentator from Brussels, speaking to me earlier